speaking of one of the blessings in the Diocese of Toledo, today our memorial on the Queenship, on this memorial of the Queenship of the Blessed Virgin Mary, this Thursday, August the 22nd, our word for today is feast, and the one who is going to unfold it for us, take us on a deep dive, it's Andrew Reinhart. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Dave and Ron. How are you?
Wonderful.
Doing great. How about you?
Doing great. I'm on site today at the 577 Foundation in Perrysburg.
Terrific.
Fabulous.
Helping lead a day of reflection for our clergy, consecrated life, and religious department at the diocese on just improving being a praying team.
My goodness.
Day of reflection. But please pray for all of them as they go on this day of retreat and reflection, to grow closer as a team and to pray for the Lord's will for their department in the coming year.
Beautiful place to do it, too.
So our word for the day is feast. And this is really fitting on the feast of the Queenship of Mary. So this is a wonderful feast, and I wanted to start with a kind of a scriptural image here, that Mary is queen not because she's the spouse of the king, but because she's the mother of the king. And this is an image that continues from the kingdom of David. At the time, the kings had a lot of wives. And in our modern times, we have a certain, kind of exalted place of romance in our culture. So we often have these kind of categories that don't fit the ancient world as a result of kind of the place that, I think rightly so, that we place conjugal love. But in the ancient world, the king would have had many wives, maybe for political alliances, maybe for other reasons. But in the kingdom of David, the queen was the mother of the king, or the term they use is Geburah, the queen mother. And this is particularly important and poignant because we all know that David's heir was Solomon. But Solomon's mom was not a Jew. She was the wife of Uriah the Hittite. Right? So there's this consequence to David's unfaithfulness, to his sin, to his adultery, to him murdering her husband and then taking her as one of his wives. Then she becomes the queen. Now the queen of the kingdom, the Jewish kingdom, the kingdom of David, is a pagan woman. And this sows all kinds of chaos. And this connects to our readings today. Our psalm is from Psalm 51. This is the Miserere, and traditionally this is understood as the prayer of repentance after David commits that great sin. And this repentance is one so beautiful, but even though David repented, there were still consequences. Right? It still changed the kingdom. It changed the trajectory of history. We know that Bathsheba was involved in, setting up places of idol worship throughout the kingdom during her lifetime. So today we honor the Queenship of Mary specifically. And I loved your reflection earlier, Dave, where you talked about, Mary being the image, the example of the one who goes into the wedding feast. She's the one that's faithful. Her faithfulness reverses Eve's unfaithfulness. The early Christian commentators pointed out the kind of inverse between Eva and Ave. that Eva's unfaithfulness was reversed by the Ave of Mary, the let it be done to me. And this woman, this poor Jewish girl whom is given this exalted role, she doesn't just accept the Lord's grace, but she also lives a life worthy of her calling. Right? And this is what's key, right? We all have a calling. Now that we are in this new dispensation of grace, we're invited to be children of God. And God's the king, right? And if we're his kids, that means we're in the royal family. We have this high dignity. But we need to live a life worthy of our calling, similar to Mary, right? And that's that image of putting on the wedding garment. Heaven isn't just this distant reality. It's something we're called to manifest here by living out the gospel. So I like to say that the reason we know that we'll be saved and we know how our judgment's going to go is because, I'm hopefully praying an examen every night. And the same God that challenges me in my examen, that same voice is the one that's going to judge me. The same God that I encounter in my prayer and meditation is the same God I'm going to encounter in the beatific vision. Right? So all of these end time realities are things that are familiar to us in our life of faith. They're here, but not yet. So in our word for the day, feast, we're called into this feast. We're called to imitate Mary to this kind of discipleship, living a life worthy of our dignity. But ultimately, we're called to the feast here and now, too, by living our faith. So our word for the day is feast.
I love it. And look, we now take it for granted, children of God. And yet in the New Testament, it had to be said, we're children of God. And yet that is what we are. As if it was that shocking. It should be that shocking to us as well. And man, what a mother we have as children of God as well. Love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Andrew.
Appreciate you too. Have a great week.